Echoes from the Valley, telling the African story.
My name is Ame Gabriel, and I'm a graduate of Federal Polytechnic Nasarawa. I study electrical and electronics engineering, telecommunication and electronics option as my discipline. As an electrical and electronics engineer, after graduation, I didn't expect myself to be a roadside engineer fixing electronics, in as much as that is part of my training from school. I should be in a company at least where I will be practicing my profession in a more matured way. I should be able to find myself in a telecommunication company where I will be doing the work. But since that is not forthcoming, we must keep body and soul together.
Research has shown that unlike in other developed climes, some public higher institutions of learning in Africa have sacrificed quality for quantity, and this has had direct impact on the qualifications awarded.
What is the quality of what is being taught in our schools? What is the quality of what our kids learn? I schooled in Nigeria. I schooled in University of Ilorin. I could say that during my time in school, part of the things that I learned, were not really the things that are actually needed. Although you could say that, the basic things, the foundational things are the things that you get. But when it comes to things that I need to compete in the world, were those things provided? I could remember when I did my internship with a global investment bank back in 2014 in London. It was pretty hard to kind of cope amongst that, and that's because some of the digital skills, the digital learning that those peers of mine had, it was a challenge for me to cope. But again, because of the rigorous training that we have been given back in school, it was easy as well to adapt as well, right? So that's one of the factors. Employability and the quality of the graduates that we have, needs to be improved upon.
More than good qualifications, employers look for attributes and competencies known as soft skills. These are quasi-inexistent in present-day graduates.
Over the course of my career, I've had to sit on interview panels and where we try to engage people. And I found that, look, the fact that you have a first degree or you have a degree in itself does not mean that you're employed. And I think that's one of the bane of our education. Part of our educational system actually don't prepare people for the workplace, And right now in the workplace, what employers want are people who have skills, not certificates. You have a lot of people who don't have jobs, who have certificates, but they don't have skills. And that's where you sometimes we want to equate skills to certificate. No. Certificate is the foundation for you to acquire a skill, but it's not a skill. Academic system does not encourage entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is not embedded in it. But I think right now that dysfunction is being corrected now. If you look at some universities now, in their curricula, they are having some form of entrepreneurship education.
Not all young people know that while they are in school, they should actually seek one or two internship opportunities before they graduate, right? Which would make them employable upon graduation. Not all young people know this, and that is because of the challenges that we have within our education sector.
But for some youths like Gabriel, the inability to get a government job upon graduation is not a problem, since they already have hands-on skills they can fall back to. As a matter of fact, they have the potentials of being employers of labor, thus reducing the pangs of unemployment. However, the lack of adequate government support is their major challenge.
At the verge of graduating, I choose a project topic, which is a fuelless generating power supply. I pick up the topic. I went on trying to assemble the system, and in the end, it came out successfully. I was able to achieve 75% efficiency out of the 100. And the system that I designed and implemented It doesn't require any fuel, no battery. The battery was there just to start up the device, after which you can, just like car engine, you can detach the battery and the system generates the power that keeps itself running. It starts at the tap of button and keep on running. Since the white collar job is not coming forth, all I need is just, let me just put it that it's monetary fund. I need my tools, of which most of them I cannot lay hand on them, and some of them has to be imported, some I have to order it online so that I can be able to do more on the project. I can take minimum of 5 people with me to show them what I know and to help me get this product, get this system running. Then as time goes on and the need for more manpower comes in, I can absorb more people to join me.
Echoes from the Valley, telling the African story.
Age has been reported as one of the major causes of graduate unemployment in Africa. Where companies set age limit prerequisite for employment, some youths are made to suffer for no fault of theirs.
Now, if you think about it, right, an average Nigerian graduate comes out of university, supposed to go in for like 4 years, but then ends up spending 5 years, 6 years for a course that should be 4 years, right? Perhaps the young person went into university at the age of 20, with the hope that, okay, perhaps I'm doing a 5 years course in engineering, and then the person does not leave the school until they are 27. Right? And we all know it's not because the kids has failed or the kids does not perform well in school, but it's just because, constant strike, delays and all of that in our educational system. And then you have a situation where most corporate in Nigeria now recruits are willing to hire, they're not willing to hire anyone above the age of 25, 26. So how do you expect that kind of youth to find employment?
Africa is presently the fastest growing region in the world, both economically and demographically. However, there is a huge need for highly skilled human capital for its sustained economic growth, so it must continue to expand its higher education sector.
Students are graduating from primary school to secondary school, universities, and there are no places where we can place them. We still don't have enough universities in Nigeria. We don't have enough polytechnics in Nigeria. Because many people good people with good result, many of them are roaming the street. They couldn't get jobs or they couldn't get admitted into schools. So it's lack of planning and lack of vision that lead us to where we are.
But development cannot be achieved by merely producing large number of graduates. It must be ensured that they are productively employed. Africa therefore needs to resolve its major challenge of graduate unemployment.
I just thank God that I am opportune to have a practical knowledge of engineering. Let me put engineering before gaining admission into this school. Because going to school and hoping to come out as an engineer that can actually do 1 or 2 things in engineering field in this our educational sector these days is almost impossible. Why? Because while we were there in school, I can tell you for sure that about 75% of my classmates, they have no idea of what the engineering. They might have the theoretical knowledge of it, but when you present them with tools, even ordinary soldering iron, some of them don't know how to handle.
The government has constantly been looked upon for massive job creation, but current events have shown that depending wholly on the government for job creation has been nothing more than wishful thinking for many youths due to some anti-developmental factors, majorly chaired by corruption.
They keep telling us no job, but I believe with your money, you know that there is a job. But since we don't have the money, what they are demanding is not what one can afford so easily. I tried at civil defense. So what they demanded there, I was like, if I should pay this kind of money, what will be my salary? Okay, even though I should borrow and pay, maybe by the time I will finish paying the money back, I don't think at the end of the month you'll be going home with nothing, which I cannot afford it. So I just left everything to be.
Or the luck to get a job right after school. There are thousands, millions of other youths that will not have that luck, that will not have that opportunity. So what is the government doing for those people? Do they just care about their own immediate family? Have you heard that before you can work in some federal government parastatals, you have to pay? You have to buy the contract.
Structure is needed to achieve the goals of massive job creation. However, in a country like Nigeria, where some policies and programs have been set up by the government to offset the scourge of unemployment, there have been skepticisms as regards the effectiveness and success of such interventions.
Number of bills that were passed, which I cannot remember all of them, but I know the National Assembly, the 8th National Assembly, has seriously held the executive to account in terms of ensuring the religious implementation of the provisions in the budget. Every year, budgets are being made and funds are being allocated, but funds are not being released. So, most times you see there is a contradiction between what is on paper and what is on the ground. Many of those ideas and projects that were being clearly written on papers for budgets, which raises up to trillions of naira. At the end of the year, you find that the budget implementation, percentage of budget implementation has always been very poor. So, but we have been able to do so much, and such bills made it possible for investors at that very time to have more confidence.
They have been unsuccessful because it is not all inclusive. It is not youth inclusive. You know, it is not driven to create jobs. If you look at the budget, the Nigerian budget, you would see that the majority of what we are spending our money on is on recurrent expenditure. So things like salaries, things like emoluments and all of that are the things that we spend the majority of our budget on. How much are we spending on capital expenses? How much have been allocated to building hospitals? How much have been allocated to build schools? How much have been allocated to build industries? For all the programs that they are doing to be successful, there needs to be, a proper allocation of resources across the different sectors.
Much more than the learning that goes on within the four walls of the university is the need for the private sectors to open their doors for short student internships, graduate trainings, soft skill trainings, and even funding as part of its social responsibility, and also the need for undergraduates and young graduates to take advantage of such opportunities.
Prior to when I joined the company I worked for, I also used to work for another Nigerian conglomerate, and they were setting up a cement factory, and I went there to see what was happening. Now, as at that time, this cement factory was under construction. They had not even started. But when I got to the car park, the main trailer park, I saw a lot of trailers that would come to deliver stuff. I saw the people who live around that village. They were selling recharge cards. They were selling food. Some were selling drinks. Some were providing charging services. They had their small generator, charging phones for people. And it just occurred to me that this one factory that is being set up by a private individual is already creating hundreds or if not thousands of jobs, directly and indirectly. That particular factory employs almost 1,000 people. But beyond that, the jobs it has created is more than that.
And to a large extent, the private sector has been helpful in the absorption of young graduates, thus contributing its quota to the reduction of unemployment.
We're all happy that, to hear about, the completion of Dangote refinery is going to happen next year, right? Or hopefully that would create thousands of jobs as well. Thousands of jobs. And that is an example of a good one, right? Of the private sector coming in to create jobs. We need more of this. But not everybody can, not everyone is a Dangote. But in our own little corner, we need to do this.
However, at some point, the private sector becomes hand-tied owing to the fact that vacancies in the sector are usually too limited to absorb the teeming population of fresh school leavers as well as old job seekers.
In Africa as a whole, unemployment rate in South Africa is even higher than Nigeria. It's about 30% or higher than that, right, in South Africa. And what is the cause of this? It's simple, right? The economy is not growing. The private sector is not investing. Nobody wants to invest in the economy anymore. And that is because of the inadequate policies that are made by the government. Why would I want to put my money in an economy where inflation is growing above 13%? Inflation is growing above 13%, but the economy itself is not growing at even 5%. The economy is growing at very, very meager percent. So why would I want to invest in that kind of economy? You see my point? So there is not enough private sector initiative in the that is creating jobs. So but government alone cannot do it. How many jobs can the government? Government is the largest employer of labor, no doubt. But are they creating enough jobs to mop up the excess capacity that we have? No. And government alone cannot do it, but the private sector needs to come in. If private sector comes in, they can create more factories, open up more industries, and before you know it, 100 jobs, 200 jobs here and there is getting there.
The consequences of youth unemployment in Africa are pervasive and severe. Unemployment translates to poorer living conditions, forced migration out of Africa, and contributes to conflicts on the continent itself.
Lack of job creates frustration, creates anger, creates anguish, frustration in the society, and instigate violence against the society. So without job, there is no life, there is no family, there is no future for young people, and they can take it out on the society for the frustration and the anger. If you have millions of young people in the street, unable to have the means of livelihood, then what is likely to happen is that such millions of people either become a revolutionary force that will overthrow the government and the state and take over power, or they become a strong criminal gangs, mafia, hoodlums, and thugs that will threaten the unity, the peace, and the stability of the country. So a nation with such teeming number of young people who are unemployed is actually sitting on a keg of gunpowder. You can't have peace, stability, and security when thousands of young people are roaming about in the street without a job.
Considering the numerous factors that have bedeviled the labor markets in Africa, what then is the hope for the teeming youths churned out of higher institutions of learning yearly and who have lofty dreams for their future and that of their society?
To overcome unemployment, you need a government that has a plan, a vision, and a clear-cut economic program. Economic policies is at the heart, it is at the center of solving the unemployment problem. If you don't have serious economic policy, you are simply wasting your time. And what are the ingredients of economic policies that will make it possible for us to solve the problem of unemployment? First of all, our economic policy must be targeted at building and prospering our country. So as such, an enabling environment should be created for our industries to manufacture and to sell. We must protect our industry. Secondly, is that there should be a scheme for which young people right from their NYSC days who wants to get into one business or another will be directly connected with the agency that is responsible for such things and will capture them in a data and provide support for them.
Echoes from the Valley. telling the African story.
And with the revelation that the panacea of unemployment still lies on the educational sector, what is left to be done to have a revitalized educational system able to produce self-sustaining graduates?
To provide education that is geared towards addressing the needs of our society. There's nothing wrong with people studying philosophy, sociology, psychology. There's nothing wrong with that. But you look at the reality of our country today. What kind of education do we actually need? So there should be priority for that, and then we should prioritize that kind of education for our own economic progress.
And to the government, what is expected of institutions and agencies created to cushion the impact of unemployment?
We have the institutions, but whether they are actually funded, that is the question. The National Directorate of Employment was created since during the time of Babangida over 3 decades ago. And the funny thing is that for more than 30 years, they are still renting an apartment as their headquarters here in Abuja. The small and medium industry, SMEDAN, is another agency of government that is also not well funded. And you can see the job of Bank of Industry and Bank of Agriculture is now being taken over by the Central Bank of Nigeria. CBN is in construction, CBN is in education, CBN is in agriculture, CBN is in industry. So this centralization of the functions of other agencies of government makes them redundant and docile, ineffective and comatose. And then it also chucked a lot of work for the CBN to do, and they have become masters of everything and been unable to achieve anything.
Youth are Africa's greatest asset. Africa's youth population is rapidly growing and expected to double to over 830 million by 2050. If properly harnessed, this increase in the working age population could support increased productivity and stronger, more inclusive economic growth across the continent.
Me see myself with other engineering students outside this country. They are no better than us. They are no better than me in any way, but they have what I don't have, which is the tools, the facilities, the company, and all of that. They are there for them. Just if you can imagine it in their own time, in their own country, if you can imagine it, you can think it, the machine to bring it into existence is not a problem. But here, the knowledge is there, the idea is there, but the means to bring it into existence is always a problem. If I have opportunity to go out there where I can earn myself a better living, I will definitely go. But if I can get what I need here, why won't I want to contribute to the development of my dear nation?
Echoes from the Valley, telling the African story.